drift. Hebrews chapter 2 verse 1. So we must listen very carefully to the truth we have heard, or we may drift away from it. Every Christian has or will experience spiritual drift at some point in their Christian lives. Interestingly, the believers to whom the letter of Hebrews is addressed were apparently at risk of the very same danger. In Hebrews chapter 2 verse 1, the author warns his audience against drifting away from the gospel. For them, this message was not only timely but necessary to protect them from a terrible fate. The idea in this passage comes from an image of a boat that has slowly drifted out to sea. A boat that someone failed to tie to the dock and consequently has been pulled out to sea by the undercurrent or the tide. This is perhaps what is most startling about drifting. It is often unintentional. Few believers deliberately untie themselves from the heavenly harbor of the gospel. Rather, they unintentionally and slowly drift away from it as a result of spiritual apathy and negligence. For the believers addressed in the book of Hebrews, it was likely their hardships and persecutions that led them neglecting the gospel. This is ironic, as the gospel and the teaching they had heard was the very cure they needed in their situation. Not in the sense that the gospel would remove the persecution, but the gospel was the anchor they needed to weather the storm they were in. Likewise, we might also drift away when storms, trials, and persecutions assail us, even though the very thing we are drifting away from is what we most desperately need in life's hardest situations. When troubles come, and they will, the answer is not to lift our eyes off the gospel. Instead, we are to place our gaze directly on the cross. By doing so, we can avoid spiritual drift no matter what we face in the stormy seas of life. Take heart, pay attention to the gospel, and tie yourself to it.